Welcome to Chris Pirillo tonight. I'm your host Chris Pirillo. First up, how to browse your computer's installed fonts. What is your favorite font in the entire universe? So help me, don't tell me it's Comic Sans Milliseconds. Everyone has a favorite, even if it happens to be one that no one else likes. Next up, the best free way to share files, photos, music online. You probably have hundreds, if not thousands, of photos on your computer. You likely also have tons of other files sitting there, as well. How do you share those files with others? Next up, how to create or edit an avatar. How often do you change your avatar? You know what an avatar is, a graphical representation of yourself online. What do you use to create or edit them? Next up, which CD case is the best? If only I had a place to store the compact disc that was on my desk, perhaps in some kind of folio made for discs. Wouldn't it be great to have a disc folio? Next up, how to create a seamless tile background image. Sure, you can take a small image and tile it as a background image on your desktop or a web page. However, tiling a small image just doesn't work very well. Next up, how big or small is that gadget? The object in my hand, my iPhone, has length, width and height like most objects in this universe. I know the dimensions of it, even. The problem is that sometimes it's kind of hard to picture. And finally, the best free desktop news ticker. I don't really watch the news anymore, unless someone sends me a clip. I snack on news stories, just to get a taste of what's going on. How do you digest your news? That is it for tech tips, and now it is time for the myths of DTV. Here we go. DTV myth number 1, everyone has to buy a new TV. TVs hooked to cable or satellite, about 85% of households nationwide, will function as they always have. People who use rabbit ears or an antenna, about 15% of households nationwide, will either have to buy a converter box or a new TV, or hook up to cable or satellite. DTV myth number 2, analog cable is going away. The mandatory conversion is for broadcast stations only. Cable systems can continue offering analog service until they choose not to. DTV myth number 3, you will need digital cable to get major broadcast networks. The FCC is requiring all cable systems which offer analog service to downconvert local digital broadcast stations and offer them on analog cable until at least 2012, either that, or provide every customer with a converter box, which would eliminate the need for analog cable. DTV myth number 4, DTV is the same thing as HDTV. DTV is a form of broadcasting. HDTV is a higher resolution, widescreen broadcast sometimes carried on DTV stations. Not all programming on digital TV is high definition. DTV myth number 5, all widescreen broadcasts are HDTV. Most programming in 16:9 format is HD, but not all. For example, news video shown during local widescreen newscasts is often SD video in 16:9 format. In some cases, only the news set cameras are HD. DTV myth number 6, TV stations will be required to broadcast in HDTV. Stations are only required to broadcast a digital signal. The programming does not have to be high definition. DTV myth number 7, VHF will be discontinued. In fact, it's UHF channels 52 to 69 that will be discontinued, leaving VHF channels 2 to 13 and UHF channels 14 to 51. Channels 70 to 83 were discontinued in the 1980s. DTV myth number 8, DTV is only on UHF. DTV myth number 8, DTV is only on UHF. In many markets, this is currently true, but will change. A number of VHF stations have opted to switch their longtime VHF channel from analog to digital in 2009, and turn off their UHF digital station. If you put up a UHF-only antenna, you may not be able to get adequate reception of the VHF stations. And finally, DTV myth number 9, all analog broadcasts will end on June 12, 2009. The digital conversion is not yet mandatory for low-power TV stations, TV translators, and stations in Canada and Mexico. Major cities will likely still have religious, home shopping, and/or Spanish-language analog broadcasts on low-power stations. Viewers in many rural areas, served by translators, will still be able to receive major networks in analog. Canada and Mexico are on different conversion schedules, and will still have analog broadcasting for several years. Well, that is it for the myths of DTV, and that is it for us tonight. I'm Chris Pirillo. I will talk to you again tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.